A lot of you ask for a full breakdown of my V-shape model. So in this video I'll show you exactly how I trade it step by step. Then I'll talk about how to spot drawn liquidity, how to know when to enter your trade, how to place your stop loss, and then I'll talk about reversal versus continuation setups, extended V-shapes, something new I haven't talked about at all, examples of some setups, and then some backtesting data. So basically V-shape, quickly explained, is just a pattern of 3 candlesticks, as you can see here, with an inversion for value gap, with the third candle closing above with great displacement, and then the price forms a V. And the change date of delivery is a bonus and making the setup higher probability. How to spot drawn liquidity. So quickly explained, drawn liquidity is just like where we want price to go and what liquidity the market wants to take out. And the types of drawn liquidity I use and my favorites are session wicks. Session wicks is just the highs and lows of the 4 sessions in a day, London lows and highs, Asia highs and lows, PM session highs and lows, AM session highs and lows. And I use this indicator on TradingView, ICT kill zones and pivots to like see session wicks. And next up we have equal highs and equal lows and relative equal highs and lows. And just quickly, equal lows and highs, just like when the wicks are at the same price. And as you can see, I use this indicator here to spot equal highs and lows. And relative equal highs and lows is just like when wicks are really close to each other. An example of relative equal highs is this, where like prices are really close to each other, but it's not equal highs, but still close. Next up we have data wicks. Quickly explained, data wicks is just when you have red folders or high impact news where we create a candle with big wicks. And as you can see, this is a data high because price made this wick when we had high impact news. And as you can see, even though price was kind of bad this session, we still took it out. So yeah, data highs and lows are really strong drawn liquidity. Next up we have higher time frame wicks. And higher time frame wicks is just like obvious wicks in the higher time frame that price wants to take out. And next up we have lower time frame wicks. And lower time frame wicks, quickly explained, is just like obvious wicks on the lower time frames. And as you can see, this is an example. We got this 1 minute high and it got taken out like 20 minutes after because it was an obvious lower time frame wick. And the last drawn liquidity I like to use is previous day highs and lows. And as you can see here, previous day highs, clean drawn liquidity getting taken out. And also a really good target to use. So those are my favorite types of drawn liquidity and how to spot them. So most importantly, I only use those type of drawn liquidity when like they are obvious. But my favorite drawn liquidity to use are those 3. And every time we get like good displacement and a V-shape model towards it, I always take it. How to know when to enter your trade. So I only enter trades on the 30-second time frame, the 1 minute time frame, the 2 minute, the 3 minute, and the 5 minute. Those are the only time frames I use for entries. And I only enter a trade when a clean V-shape is appearing, or when like price are good. The most important for me taking an entry and a trade is obvious drawn liquidity. If there's no clean drawn liquidity or all my drawn liquidity already has been taken out, I take no trades. As you can see, 2 days ago, Thursday, my drawn liquidity was those lows here and the London highs and the untapped 4 right here. But we didn't get no V-shape towards it and just displaced right at it. And I took 0 trades this day because my draw was already taken out and we was too far away from London highs. And the trades I take is only during the New York AM session. And the only way I take a trade before or in the aftermarket is when drawn liquidity is not taken. So if I have a really obvious drawn liquidity and like a clean V-shape is appearing in the pre-market, I will 100% take it. And the same with the aftermarket. And here's some example of some trades in the aftermarket. And in the end of March, there was a lot of clean trades in the aftermarket. This one was in the aftermarket towards Asia lows. You can see really clean V-shape continuation. There was also this one in the aftermarket in late March, and also this one. That's why if I have a good drawn liquidity still, I'll still look at the charts in the aftermarket. How to place your stop loss. Okay, so my personal rules for placing my stop loss is if the inversion for value gap is below 10 points, then I'll place it above/below the last wick. And if the inversion for value gap is above 10 points, then I'll place it 10 points above/under the inversion for value gap. An example is this one. You can see the inversion for value gap was 6.5 points. So as you can see, I will place it here 20 points, but always like around 10 points below the inversion for value gap. And if it's like small, then I'll place it under the last wick. And the reason why I don't have like a big stop loss or maybe like below the wick always, because like some people it will be logic to place it below the wick because they don't want to see price go down and take this wick because they think it's protected. And why I don't do that is because like when I take a setup, I want price to be clean. And I want to price to deliver to my drawn liquidity. And as you can see in this trade, price don't even come near the inversion value gap. It just like flies up. And that's the same with all of those trades also. Like they don't even tap the inversion value gap. They just like flies down to take profit. So that's why I normally have a tight stop loss. Is because when my drawn liquidity is right in a winning trade, normally we don't like even go into drawdown that often. And the last rule I use for placing my stop loss is risk to reward ratio is negative. Then I place a tight stop. And an example is this trade from yesterday. As you can see, it's not a valid V shape, but it still was like a textbook setup in other models. So I'll just show you what to do if the risk to reward ratio is negative. As you can see, targets would have been those equal highs, but it would have been a negative risk to reward ratio trade. If this trade would have been a valid V-shape, I would have placed my stop like this to get a minimum 1 risk to reward ratio, because I don't trade negative risk to reward ratio. So the V-shape model does two types of setups, a reversal setup and a continuation setup. And quickly explained, reversal setup is just where we want to see price change direction and get a change in trend, and the continuation setup is just where we want to follow the trend and follow the price. And the confluences for a reversal setup is really simple. We need a higher time frame projection, and that's between a 15-minute to a 4-hour fair value gap. And the only PD array I use for rejections is fair value gaps. And then we need a liquidity sweep, as you can see here, and we need to be in the discount/premium range. When we want to long, we have to be in discount. And the way you can check that is you can just like check the range. If we're on the 1 minute time frame like this, you will just like mark out the highs and the lows and the lowest low, and then you can check like this and see, okay, we're below equilibrium. That means we're in discount of the range. And the next confluence is a V-shape, our entry model, and as you can see, this is a clean V-shape as I explained earlier. And the last confluence is clear targets, and again that's just draw on liquidity because we want to target where we want price to go. And the confluences for a continuation setup is also pretty simple. We need lower time frame projection from the 2-minute time frame to 15-minute, and again it's only fair value gaps are used for rejection. And the reason why it's lower time frame and not higher time frame is because when we are following the trend, we just like get small retracements to lower time frame fair value gaps and then displays towards our draw. And the next confluence is a V-shape again, and that's because again it's our entry model. And next up we have obvious bias, and obvious bias is just like the trend is clear. If we are like bullish or bearish is pretty obvious, and that could be both on the lower time frame and the higher time frame. Like this, you can see we are just like had 3 displacing bearish candles. That means like our low time frame bias is bearish, and we want to make a bearish trade towards our drawn liquidity below. That means like our bias is obvious because we're in a bearish trend. And the last confluence is clear targets, and again it's just a drawn liquidity we want to target. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Next up we have extended V-shape, and extended V-shape is something I've never spoken about on my X or on my YouTube channel at all. And that's because extended V-shape is something that I don't use that much. And when I take extended V-shape, it's because I have really high conviction in the trade or the drawn liquidity is really obvious. And extended V-shapes are again just entry model, so there's still reversal extended V-shapes and continuation extended V-shapes. And as you can see, just like the same type of setups, but just with the 4th candle closing above. And the only rule that I have to extend V-shape is the 3rd candle body can close inside the inversion fair value gap. And as you can see, this is a valid extended V-shape because the 3rd candle doesn't close inside the inversion fair value gap with the body of the candle, as you can see here. And the same with the continuation setup. It doesn't close inside the inversion fair value gap. That means it's valid. But if the extended V-shape was like this, it would not have been valid because the body closed inside the inversion fair value gap, as you can see, and then it would have been invalid. And now you probably think, what difference does that make? Backtest data of this, like all of the years I've backtested with my model, it was always like the extended V-shapes with the 3rd candle closing inside the inversion fair value gap that failed. And the reason why we can't close inside with the 3rd candle is because like then it will be too choppy and the momentum will not be great anymore. So yeah, extended V-shapes is just something I use when we have like a really obvious drawn liquidity and no normal V-shapes appear. And here you can see an extended V-shape reversal that's ended up working out. As you can see, the 3rd candle doesn't close inside the inversion fair value gap, and the 4th displays and closes above the inversion fair value gap with a clean change in state of delivery. And here's another example of an extended V-shape where you can see again the 3rd candle doesn't close inside, but this one ends up break even. So extended V-shapes are something I only use when I have high conviction or really obvious drawn liquidity and no normal V-shapes appear. Now I'll show you some example of some V-shape setups and how to spot a good V-shape. And earlier in this video I talked about what a V-shape was, but now I'll talk about what's the difference between a good V-shape and a bad V-shape. Okay, now I'll show you 8 setups. Some of them are losses, some of them are wins, some of them break even. So the first setup I'll show you is this loss. As you can see, it was a valid V-shape reversal setup. We had higher time frame rejection, we have liquidity sweep, we was in premium for the range, we had a 1 minute V-shape, and we also had clear targets. As you can see, we have the data low and AM lows. But the reason this one fails is actually quite easy. As you can see, we make this big wick and we close this exactly beneath it. So that's a sign of a weak and a bad V-shape, when we like wick all the way down and then comes back up. And here we have another loss. And the thing we can learn from this loss is again, the close was not the best, and something I haven't spoke about at all in this video, but it's really important, the second candle. As you can see, this second candle is decent, but the second candle is still like strongly displacing bullish. We have this big wick that makes it okay, but like if this candle would have been all the way up, it would have been a really bad trade because the second candle has to be weak and has to be like rejecting where the third candle are displacing. So that's also one of the reasons this trade fails, because we don't like displace enough and it's just end up being choppy price action. And this is another example. You can see the second candle again is like not the same trend as we want to be, and it's not weak, it's a bullish candle where we just like get this big displacement candle down and ends up failing. And here you can see another bad V shape. Again, the second candle wasn't that weak, it was a bullish second candle, but the displacement was still good and we got a change state of delivery. But this trade fails also because our drawn liquidity is too far away. As you can see, like it's really far away, and it's just like ends up chopping around because we're too far away to deliver, and then it just like ends up manipulating us out. And now I'll show you some good V shapes. As you can see, we get a clean reaction after sweeping these lows and tapping inside this fair value gap, rejecting it. And as you can see, the second candle is like really weak because the body is so small. And then we got the third candle closing above, and then it just flies to take profit. And the next one, again, you can see the second candle is towards the trend we want to trade, bullish as we want to enter longs, and the third candle is displacing, and we have clean drawn liquidity. And here you can see another example. The third candle is not making a change state of delivery, but we still get the second candle with the same trend we want to trade, bearish, and then we're shorting here and flying to take profit. And here you can actually see a good V shape ends up failing. You can see we get a good second candle, good third displacing candle, but we ends up failing, and that's because you can't be right every time. And maybe there was a 15-minute gap above here, I can't remember, but yeah, you can't be right every time. And as you can see also this setup, it's the same, we're just flying to take profit, and the same in this one. And as I talked about earlier, in a lot of my winning trades, we're not even touching like the inversion value gap, we're just displacing towards the draw in most of the wins, as you can see. And as you can see here, some backtesting data from 2024 and 2023. On the left is 2024, where you can see a really strong year with 75% win rate. And on the right, you can see 2023, also a pretty decent year with a 71% win rate. So as you can see, the V-shape is like a high risk reward ratio model, about 2.3 in 2023 and about 2.8 in 2024. And something you also can see, the like trade frequency is really low. And that's because I only pick like high probability V-shapes. And that's because V-shapes only appear when price action is clean. And when you trade in clean price action and high win probability conditions, your win rate will automatically be higher and you will win more trades. So that's also one of the things I really like about the V-shaped model, is like your interest is mostly going to be in like good price conditions. And as you can see, I have the data from a lot of years with my V-shape model. If you want more breakdowns like this and want to see more backtesting data, comment V-shape and subscribe to the channel.